Okay, welcome to our session on Harmonize 102 and some new features. I hope you've had the opportunity to start playing with Harmonize and using it with your students. Those who've been using it over the last year have really enjoyed it and found that it has changed the quality of conversation in their courses. With us today is Marcus from Harmonize. I'm going to turn this over to Marcus to get us started.
All right, excellent. So yeah, quick introductions. My name is Marcus. I'm one of the founders of Harmonize, and I run a lot of the trainings and am constantly staying in touch with instructors around what do you want, what makes your life easier, because one of our 3 guiding principles is if we can save instructors some time, that makes the world a better place. So when you are, if you're using Harmonize now, or if you start, don't hesitate to reach out on any of these things I show you today or anything in general around how you would like to see it work, because that's what drives us, that's what inspires us. We see you all as the pillars for what actually works in education. So our goal is to make your job easier. I'm going to start my screen share in a second. I want to outline kind of what I'm going to cover today. So my assumption is that some of you will have played with Harmonize, some of you will have not, some will be used in your classroom already, some are thinking about it. I'm going to cover broad strokes, a lot of the things that Harmonize does, some of the new features that have come out, some of the interesting ways to use it, so that you can almost see this as a inspiration, ways that Harmonize can be used class, if you will. And then I actually have some webinars and trainings I'm going to throw out in the chat as well, where you can, if you're like, I've never used Harmonize before, all of that looked cool. How do I actually make the clicky to set it up in my class? There's a Harmonize 101 training that really goes quite a bit slower and walks you through what it looks like to get just the basics going in your class. So I'm going to put that in the chat for you here. There's a Harmonize 101. The one we're doing today is the Harmonize 102. And I'm tweaking it a little bit for VCCS, but I would say if you go in there, don't watch 102 because you will already have gotten most of the content. Having said that now, I will keep an eye on the chat. So if you have questions, I highly encourage them. If you're like, ooh, that's cool, does it also do this? Put those in the chat and I can answer them as we're rolling through things. This is what that webinar page is going to look like. So you can see 101, 102, 103, and you can actually view recordings, or you can sign up for a live webinar if that's your preference. All right, enough with slide decks and support articles and such. I just am going to dive straight into Canvas, and I'm going to sort of meander through a bunch of the tools that Harmonize offers so you can get a feel for the breadth of how can you communicate with your students. Like, our primary goal is student engagement. It is you as the instructor. We don't want to tell you how to teach. We just want to give you the tools so that whatever type of communication you want to do in your class, we can make that richer, we can make it better, we can give you the tools you need. And so that's what I'm going to go through today, is like, how do we see use cases of some of these tools? How does it work, et cetera. So for most that are using Harmonize, and the place that most people get started, it's our discussion forums. So I'm going to cover a discussion forum flavor here that kind of takes discussion forums to the next level. But in doing so, I'm also going to give those of you who have never seen Harmonize a feel of what the primary discussion looks like. But I'm going to talk about interesting ways to use discussion that maybe are one step beyond what you're doing now, depending on how you teach. So one of the questions that we get a lot around discussion forums is like, great, I have an in-person part of my class, or I have a Zoom part of my class, but I want to use discussion forums. How do I bridge doing an asynchronous discussion forum into a live class and back out so that that conversation never dies? And we support that from an equity perspective, because some students need a little more prep time. Every student should prepare before they come to your class. Some students aren't great at participating live. And so if you can give them a place to participate after the fact, their good ideas can still be shared, and maybe they feel more comfortable sharing them as well. So it's a question of just, how does your week look as you're going through these? So I've actually set up a Harmonized topic here. I'm calling it specifically how I'm going to bridge asynchronous and in-person class time, because that's the example I'm looking at. And I want to highlight a few things of what I'm doing here. So this one is one of the few areas I'll touch on a lot of the things that maybe some of you already know, but in a different spin than normal. So one of the features of Harmonize is that we actually support what's called multiple due dates, multiple milestones throughout the week or throughout whatever time period you want to be able to ask your students explicitly. I am expecting you to post once by Wednesday. I am expecting you to comment twice by Thursday, so that you can lay out very specific expectations for your students. But the way I'm using them in this class, I think, is a little different than what we normally train on and what people think about normally. So you can see I set those up. It's visible as progress bars to the students. You can even set I set up auto grading on these so that I'm not really concerned about assessing quality. I'm going to let the system grade for me. But what I did was I'm like, hey, I'm going to use these milestones, not just for an asynchronous session, but I'm going to say, hey, before you come to my class, I want you to make a post. In this case, it's an introduction because I want our first class time to be each of us knowing each other a little bit, but it could be, I want you to do some readings and I want you to ask an open-ended question around what you read so I can show that you've read it and I can understand where you're confused or maybe where you have concerns in the content before we roll into an in-person class. And then I've actually asked them as the second part, they have to come to class. And I put this in here specifically as a meeting type where I can set up a Zoom session, I can set up a team session, I can set up this one doesn't have a location, but I could have said, let's meet at the Starbucks or let's meet in class. And I can set up agenda files for them. And I can also share recordings after the fact so that anyone who misses class can come back in and see and get caught up. And then I've set up requirement 3 to be like, I want you to go comment on 2 of your classmates' posts. So in that initial thing, I either had you introduce yourself or I had you do an open-ended question. We got together and we met. And now after the fact, I want you to go back into this forum and I want you to go find 2 of your classmates' posts and be able to comment and interact on them. This is great because it gives you more time consuming the content. You had to think about it beforehand. You came together in an in-person class and you have to think about it afterwards to continue processing that information. And it's great from an equity perspective because if I'm not brave, I'm not raising my hand in class and I can always come in here and share my thoughts after I've had time to process a little bit. I'm using this to bridge that synchronous and asynchronous thing, but of course you can do this in any way you want, and I'll show some different models of this as I go through different examples. And then finally, I actually set this one up to be a small group discussion. So if you are familiar with Canvas groups, I actually know when I'm coming in person in class, I'm going to break into small groups and do something. So I've gone ahead and broken into small groups for the actual asynchronous time as well. And then I will be able to filter and see what's going on here so that the students can only see posts from each other. So I'm going to go ahead and close these instructions because I demoed to them. And this is like a very basic Harmonized discussion that has 3 posts in it. So you can see what this looks like. And so you can see here, I made a post, Laverne made a post, James made a post. Laverne's was late. She missed her first deadline, so it'll flag that for you as the instructor. James is new, I haven't read it yet. So I can come into James's post, see what he's saying. He's actually brought in a resource from someplace that he found helpful so that he could share it with the rest of the class. And then I could just page through the post as I'm going here to see what did Laverne say. She actually brought in a different resource she found was helpful. And I can come back to this all posts. So one of the goals of Harmonize, just to touch back on this for people that haven't used it, is to avoid the long sort of threaded, boring text discussion that happens and instead break it into cards so I can decide where I want to interact in my class. And I can do interactions in a lot of rich ways. Like in this one, I actually recorded myself straight from my browser doing a video. And then I actually did a timestamp comment on my own video to say, oh, at second 3, I like what I said as I was going through. So what kind of rich content can we give you so that you stay away from that sort of boring text only thing? Not that text is always boring, but it can be. If you could spruce it up a little bit with media, great. And let's not force everyone to read everything in the order it was posted. Let's let them take a look at these cards and determine what they want to do. And then these multiple due dates here, the student can actually opt in to have these appear in their to-do list, in their student calendar, so that you can set up custom due dates and it will appear for them as the student. When they first come in, it's going to prompt them and say, like, do you want these in your to-do list? And all the students are going to say yes, so that they don't lose track of what's going on as well. So This is our flagship product. This is the discussion forum, and I'm going to show you how to make it jump through hoops in a bunch of different ways. This one is, using our multiple due dates, using our auto grading system to assign points so I as the instructor don't have to grade, because this happens to be an introduction topic, and I don't care how they introduce themselves. I just want them to introduce themselves, so I let the system handle the grading for me. But now I want to cover something that is similar to this that a lot of people don't recognize is available in Harmonize, that has some interesting uses, which is sometimes a discussion isn't actually necessarily a large group project where you're looking for peer connectivity. Sometimes you actually want to be able to have a discussion with your individual students and use these types of features more as an assignment space. So in the example I'm about to lay out here, I've actually set up 3 due dates. There's no synchronous session involved in this. This one is purely asynchronous, and now I'm demoing the discussion as what I would call a private assignment. So my instructions to the students here are, this is a drawing class, and I really want you to submit what you're starting with, and then we're going to teach you a bunch of stuff. And then your second due date is going to be apply all of that stuff I taught you about drawing and redo your initial drawing. And then finally, I'm going to apply at the end, I'm going to want you to take that same piece of work, redo it, and give a self-critique as well. And so you can see here, I have 3 deadlines set up. In this case, I don't have the auto grading system turned on because I'm actually going to assess their work for quality. But what's interesting about this is that students can't see each other's work. I have cranked this down to be 100% private between me and the students. So I can see all the students' work. I can see Laverne posted her first work, her second work, her third work. I can see that Nick did the same. If I were to log in as Laverne, she would not see Nick, and Nick will not see Laverne. So the idea is, like, I'm going to show you how to use all of the tools of Harmonize here, that you don't even have to be encouraging peer participation. Sometimes it's really just about making the communication, in this case, richer between you and the student. So let me go ahead and launch this in SpeedGrader so you can see what this looks like if you were to come in as the instructor and want to assess this work. We actually will load up everything that the student has done in SpeedGrader for you. We will give you a breakdown of, did they actually finish their stuff on time? Yes, they got each of the post deadlines done. Yes, they read 100% of what they could see, which in this case turns out just to be their own posts. And you can just scroll down and see each of the pieces of work that the student has submitted in one view so that you can actually, my computer's trying to update, sorry about that. You can actually see how their work grew over time. And then and you can give them a grade over the entirety of the work. So this is more project-based work. How did it grow? How did it evolve? What kind of feedback can I give them? And the feature I'm about to show you is available for these private discussions, like I'm assessing individually, but is also available for group discussions, which is this panel on the left here is actually the live discussions. So typically in Canvas, I'd be like, I'm going to give you a 99, and I've got this little box, and I can be like, nice work as I'm going along. And then my computer just reloaded the page. No idea why. So it did nice work here, and that's basically all I'd be able to give them. I got a couple of things here. But what if you're actually looking to critique the student work here? I could actually say, I want to comment and annotate on this. I can see what comments have already been left. Some of these are actually by me. You can see that I chose to draw on the student work twice to be able to highlight different things that I thought were interesting. And I can always just reply with all of the tools you would expect here as if it were the live discussion. So I could type a simple text comment if I wanted, or something I really love to see people do is I could just go ahead and be like, you know what, I want to give it a personal touch. I'm actually going to use my video recorder. I went ahead and drew on your images as we go through, and I'm going to say, start recording. Hey everybody, or not hey everybody, hey Laverne, I really love the work you did here. I went ahead and highlighted 2 things up above for you to take a look at. I highlighted the areas I thought really could use some work as we evolve through this. I'm really looking forward to your second piece of work as we're going through. So now I'm giving her substantive feedback on hers with a nice video thing. I talk faster than I type. So this is actually quicker for me. And then I can stop. It records that. It auto captions it for me. And now Laverne has really quality feedback from me, both in drawing on her images, giving her feedback on her work, leaving a nice personal video, and then I can roll on from there. what's interesting about this is I'm doing this in a private topic. So this is a way for me to give context specific content. I could then jump down, let's say I come back in a week later, she's got her second drawing in. I could go ahead and comment on that. I could say, I'm going to actually draw on this piece of work here. And I'm going to highlight, like, I highlighted your hair and your eyes before. I'm going to tell you that that is actually much better this time. Much better work on the eyes and blurring, etc. I'm not going to correct any typos. And be able to give her that type of feedback as well. If I were doing this in more of a group work, when I publish this, I can choose whether I want the entire class to see it or not. So now I'm stepping out of this private mode and imagine this was actually group work. I could give feedback to Laverne that is beneficial to the entire class. When I click publish, if I don't mark it as private here, it's going to appear to the entire class. So I was doing my grading. I was giving feedback to Laverne privately or publicly. If I chose publicly, I'm also facilitating the discussion. But since grading is the biggest part of what you do, all of that is available in your grading interface. So you can really jump in, give the feedback if you want, submit that out to the discussion so other students benefit from it, and then roll on with your day. Publish this, that's now available out there. It highlights it, it put a nice little line around the eyes that I was commenting on, etc. As I go through. So a lot of this is, how do you want to communicate with your class? Do you want to do everybody at once? We can do that. Do you want to do everybody in a section at once? Same thing, just set it into section mode. Let me actually show you what some of this looks like so you can see where the settings are at. I think it kind of drives it home. If I'm actually editing my post, the types of visibility we have is visible to everyone, or only students in the same section, or really narrow it down, only students in the same group, or the thing I just demoed to you, completely private between students and instructor. So you as the instructor get to choose how big of an audience do you want to work together, and what are you looking to do in terms of feedback for them. Save and close those settings. I'm looking at some comments going on here. Let me see. And you can have, yes. So someone's just talking about the multiple due dates. All of the reminders are handled for you. We email the students about these multiple due dates. They appear in the student calendars if they've opted in. The opt-in pops down in their face and it looks like this here, where it says the very first time it's going to say, hey, your to-dos are not synced with Canvas, sync my Canvas calendar. It'll nag them a little bit about that as you go. So you don't have to manage that as much. The students are able to manage that. And once they've synced once, they don't even have to deal with this anymore. It's coming through and letting them see what's coming up. They can check it off their list, etc. All right, gonna jump back out now. Feel free at any point to put questions into the chat around anything I've covered in the past. I'm happy to jump back to these things, but I want to jump into a couple different areas now that I'm looking at. You saw in the image I was looking at that I was actually able to draw on the images. That was me as the instructor drawing on the images. The same thing would have been available to the students. And I went by this pretty quickly, but there was actually a video where I actually annotated the video and gave specific timestamps on the video as well to give my feedback. So let me show you what that actually looks like, because I think this is a pretty powerful tool. I'm going to do it with a generic topic, but I'm going to give you some use cases that we see people work through with these. So in this case, I've actually had a video here in my instructions that has a comment annotate button. Every piece of media, be it a video or an image that either you record using our in-browser tools, or if you drag and upload the video or you drag and upload the images into Harmonize, are gonna have this comment and annotate button. And what this does, imagine you're teaching a class. Here's an example we had from Michigan where they're like, we want to teach an African-American studies class where we are looking at 1950 sitcoms through the lens of how Black culture was seen at that time. And so they actually took a 1950 sitcom, dragged the video in so that it was available in the topic, and asked each of the students to go ahead and comment and annotate on it here, which opens up a place for them. Here you can see it loaded the video. And then I can go ahead and press play on this video. And then their task was to watch the video. And whenever they found something that was different than how culture sees it today, they could click this plus annotate button and they could leave a thing saying like, aha, at this point, I found a reference to culture that was different than today, whatever the assignment was. They can then continue to click play, stop it at another point in time, and give a different time-sensitive topic comment here. When they actually finally do publish this, I didn't put a subject on my critique, which I always forget to do. My critique of your video. I don't need to tag any students. Looks like I had actually already started responding and then drug in an introduction to Harmonize video, so it didn't want to lose that work. It pulled it in. But if I publish this, that's going to appear as a card. Let me roll up these instructions because I've read them. Here's my card. And then when I click on this, it's going to actually show you that post that I authored with that video I had pulled in, but also my time-sensitive comments here where I can click on these and jump straight to that point in the video and see what they were doing. This we often see used, like I was mentioning that case there, but also imagine you're doing small group presentations and they're in groups of 3 and you want to have those students present to each other and you want them critique each other's presentation. Someone records it, they drop it in here. Each student gets to give time-sensitive comments on what they felt about the presentation. You as the instructor then don't have to watch all of the presentation. You could actually come in and be like, well, what did the student say? Let me click on point 1, point 2. Let me see what the other student did, point 2, point 3, point 4, to be able to understand what the class thought about it, and then move on with your day. So these same tools are available to students to be able to do as well. So if a student had uploaded a video, they could comment, annotate on it. If the student had uploaded an image, same thing, you or they could comment and annotate and draw on them as they go. So just interesting ways to be able to take what is normally a difficult thing to do in an asynchronous class and to be able to get your peers interacting with each other as if they were in the same room, but instead they're just using simple video recorders or they're recording something with their iPhone. This all works in the Canvas iPhone app, so they could just record straight from their camera there and upload it as they're going through to be able to share rich content back and forth. Jump back to the top and see what's going on from there. So lots of different ways to take that media and interact around it. Let me jump all the way out of discussions now. I'm going to leave our sort of flagship product, what we call Harmonize Discuss, which is like, how do you do group discussions? And I'm going to cover a bunch of different ways we have as well for you to communicate in your class. So I'm going to come back out to modules here. I have a bunch of things laced into my class that are harmonized. Pretty much all of these things in my module outline are harmonized specific pieces of content. So I'm going to start now. We had touched briefly on, or not briefly, we actually spent a decent amount of time on how do I get my students prepped for my in-person class. But the question is more broadly like, what kind of questions do they have? I'm in week 2, or I'm in general in my course. What questions do my students have and how can I get them answered efficiently? We actually have a full question and answer module that you can drop into your course. We see these used in a lot of different ways, but it's got all the same rich functionality we were talking about from Harmonize. Lets them do images, video, etc. But this one is more focused around ask a question and you as the instructor can mark something as the best answer. Other people can respond to it. If I click on this question, I'll see all of the responses. In this case, there's only one response, but it's already marked as best. I can see my teacher responded with a video answering my question. I can go look at the other questions. I can find questions that haven't been answered yet. I can see people asking about homework, when the class is, what about this week's reading, and different people answering them both anonymously if they want or not anonymously, and getting those things marked as best questions and best answers. Students can upvote these as well. So if they all have a similar question, they can really support each other. I actually saw, I think, a presentation from Sherry where she was talking about how important it is for students to see each other's questions so that they feel like they are more comfortable in the class, right? They feel like, no, I'm not actually behind. All of these people have the same questions I do. I'm very comfortable with that. I can see it. This makes me feel like I'm a part of the community. It makes me feel more comfortable with the level where I'm at. This gives you an explicit place to do that. And then you can see which ones actually need an answer as you go. You as the instructor can watch this topic, so you'll get notified every time a question gets posted. That's pretty important because if a student asks a question and then they don't get an answer right away, they're going to email you. Now you have it in 2 places. Maybe another student's going to email you, a third student's going to email you. Go ahead and answer it in a public place. Then you can just point them back to like, oh, I already answered that in the Q&A forum. Go check it there, and that's where your questions should be answered. So you're developing a nice body of what do the questions look like as well. Has all the standard features of Harmonize where you can actually put in some instructions that you'd like if you want to guide them towards what you'd like them to do. This particular one is what I call a course Q&A, which means it's also available here in the Harmonize left menu. So it's available for the entire duration of your class. So here I can see, oh, here's the course Q&A. I can see there were 2 things I hadn't read yet, and I could jump into the course Q&A from this Harmonize left menu. I choose to actually add this to the module specifically as well, because I really want students to feel comfortable, like here is where you ask your questions so that they can actually get them answered. So I do it in both places. We have a slightly different version of this tool as well. So let's say you have that, that's your place for general questions, but you know you're getting ready to teach the theory of relativity in a physics class, you know it's going to be complicated. You can actually lace a topic specific Q&A in here that's only available under this wherever you chose to put it in your module, and it's a different bank of questions. So I can come into this one, it was embedded into week 1, and I can see questions answered specific to what week 1 is about, which in this case is asynchronous versus synchronous learning. So I can also narrow down the scope if I want. I can put these in and be like, hey, week 2 is going to be tough. Ask your questions here. Then I can see your questions before we get into lecture. I'll know how to adjust my lecture based on what questions you're asking. And it gives you a place to be able to really group your questions as well. So if you as the instructor choose to do that, you can do so. This can support inquiry-based learning. So if you're just trying to really even force them to say, like, look, ask some open-ended questions, even if they are not questions you currently have, go find questions, go read the content and bring your questions in. How do you actually then get them to be able to do that? When I'm talking about now, I'm trying to get a couple of those examples where how do I get feel for what's going on in my class? Like, where are people confused? Where are they not? We also offer simple polling. So if you're concerned that your students aren't going to engage because they're new to the class, and I'd like them to really be able to just express how they're feeling, I can lace a poll straight in here where they can come in and say, I can say, go look at all my weeks. Tell me which week you think is going to be most interesting for you. What are you most looking forward to? Simple multiple choice poll here. So I can use this just to get a quick little bit of engagement, prime that pump, get my students to start to tell me what they're thinking. They're really interested in week 3. I'm the only one that's voted, so 100% of the people have said they're into week 3, and you as the instructor can download those results if you want. So you can lace these in here. We see students actually lace these in the discussion as well. We've seen from a nervousness perspective, a student post out a poll being like, y'all seem really smart. What do you already know about jazz in this introduction class? And then give a series of answers so that they just develop like some comfort of like, where's the rest of my class at? And then they have a simple poll they can run as well. So it's available to students to do inside the discussion forums, but available to you to lace through wherever you want. First module, second module, third module, whatever type of thing you're looking for. You also can stack multiple of these. That question I showed you only had one question, but let's imagine now I've taken the time to upload my lecture and none of you students are watching my lectures. That's really frustrating. I can actually use polls in conjunction with content, which is a case I've set up here to be able to say, wow, okay, I want you to watch this video and I want you to answer a poll question about it. There's no right or wrong answer, but I want to know, and I'm gonna see your results of what you actually thought about this video. And then I can actually throw up another image here and say, well, talk to me about, are there any product placements in this image? Yes or no type of thing. So they actually have to look at your content, think about it before they answer the poll as you go. And you can stack these things as much as you want. Could have done text, could have done images, could have done videos, could have recorded myself doing a video. So whatever you want the question can be, it doesn't even have to be a simple text question. It can be a whole bunch of rich content that you want then the students to respond to in some way. These things can be graded. So imagine I have 5 poll questions in here. I assign 10 points to it, automatically graded. You answer all 5, you get all 10 points. Yay, good for you. You answer 2, you get whatever, 10 divided by, you get 4 points as you go through, so that you as the instructor don't have to worry about the grading, but you can attach a grade to it so that you're encouraging your students to actually do it. So if you really want them to answer this poll or you really want them to watch the content and answer it, you can do so. So once again, just all of these different tools, I'm giving you the broad strokes. How can you engage with your students? I know this can get a little overwhelming. So if you ever feel like, wait, okay, I've seen enough. I just want to like learn. I want to go learn, do that one thing. Harmonize 101 is really going to be where it's at for you. But having said that, I'm going to keep on going because there's a bunch more fun stuff to cover. All right, back into my modules. Want to show one couple other things that I've laced in here. And remember, at any time, ask questions on these as we go through. I laced into the very first part here, this chat with your classmates. One of the big guiding principles we're after is peer connectivity. Like if your students start to know each other, regardless of why, they're going to interact together better in your class. So that's why, for example, I had this quality matters, like introduce yourself to the class, you as the instructor modeling an introduction, them doing introduction. This was using our standard discussion forum. But I also tend to lace in this chat with your classmates here explicitly because I want them to know it's okay for them to actually reach out and direct message with their fellow students from within the system. They can do that with one student at a time or multiple students at a time. So they can actually come in here and just be like, hi, everyone. This is a chat I had already started with 3 people from my class. Can send that out. You know, it's just Snapchat or you know, iPhone chat or texting or whatever, WhatsApp, whatever chat they're used to. Same thing here. They can share images, they can share videos, they can share URLs, they can chat back and forth as they go. You don't have access to this unless they actually include you in the chat. So it's a private space for them to start forming some of that peer connectivity as they're going through. And then they can really start to build those bonds. And added bonus, they don't have to actually share their phone information with each other as they go. They can just start new chats here. They didn't have to share any private information. My Harmonize demo class has a bunch of people in it. I could have just been like, Edith and Laverne, I want to chat with them and be like, hi, nice seeing you in class. As you go. So they're not leaving the system. All the data's here. If you ever have a grievance, you know, your administrators can have access to this, but it is considered a private space for students unless they copy you in. We see people use this around small group work as well. So I said, you know, it's primarily not academic. We're focused on peer connectivity. However, there are 3 of them working in a group and they want to be able to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with sharing files, sharing ideas, whatever it is, then they can use this tool as well to be able to come in and be like, okay, Edith and Laverne are in a group with me. I'm going to share a URL I found that supports our group work, or I'm going to share some files, or maybe I'm going to say, hey, let's get together for coffee so we can talk about our group work. That's available here as well. So chat features available. This is also available in that left menu item as well. So this Harmonize left menu item has the chat here. You can see I've actually read all my chats, but they could have opened it from here. However, once again, I like to be very explicit with my students, so I also laced it into the modules so they could see that it was there. Your choice, whether you do that or not, but it's available in both places. Your discussions are available to here. Idiosyncrasy of Canvas, if you're using this, Canvas doesn't allow the graded discussions to appear here. Those have to be created in assignments and then added to different places. So just keep that in mind if you're doing graded assignments. Those you get to lace into modules as well. You can learn more about that in Harmonize 101 as well. Coming back into modules, there's one more thing I'm going to cover, and I'll take some questions, and then I'll jump into a little bit more of a what we would cover in 101 if there's some time left to show you, like this actually can save you time. Like our goal here is that you should be able to use Harmonize more quickly than you use your other forums so that you're doing all of this rich stuff, but it's actually taking less time than what you spent in your normal discussion. So that's our goal here. So last tool I'm going to cover is something we just launched in December as well. So a lot of these tools have come out like in the sort of the last year as we're going through, so you may not be familiar with them, but the last one we actually just launched is the ability for you as the instructor to take a PDF and upload it into your class right here into the modules, and then let your students interact with that PDF. So if you have a legal document you want them to read and critique, or you have a poem you want them to read and critique, we can load the PDF up here, and you can see a little sidebar where we highlighted this text, we had a question around it, we highlighted, someone else highlighted this text, etc. Bunch of different stuff. You can page through these different questions as you want to see what they're highlighting, what they're talking about. You'll notice all of these are actually by me, but this could be your entire class. It's just me that set up the demo. So I responded back and forth. And so I can see where was my class confused, what kind of questions did they have, what kind of conversations can they have back and forth. Here, Alan did some grammar critiquing on this, and I gave him, nice work, kudos out to him to do it. And we give you tools to be able to highlight or drop pins on this. You or your students can do that. So I can just grab this pin tool here and be like, I'm going to drop a pin here, and I'm going to say, right here is an interesting section. And someone asked Heather, if the PDF is uploaded, can a screen reader read it? Yes, the screen reader can access it. And same thing for the sidebar here, the screen reader can access these. Caveat, if the PDF is actually created accessibly. So we're not going to take the PDF and make it accessible if it's a poorly created PDF. However, if it is a well-created PDF, we will let the screen reader get access to it. And then students could come in and reply to what's going on here and be like, yes, it is, etc. So yeah, to clear out someone, if you did a scan document, you're leaving a bunch of students behind. PDFs that are scanned documents are pretty tough unless you have some what's called OCR, character recognition, on them to be able to turn it into a proper PDF. PDFs are tough sometimes from an accessibility standpoint. So keep that in mind as you're going through class. So you can see a whole bunch of content here. I could narrow it down and be like, just show me whatever comment I have highlighted here, so I don't have all of the other highlighted bits going on, and I can page through. Right now, this is not gradable, but we are actively building the grading interface right now. I have a meeting on Monday to look at what it looks like. So what we're looking for is feedback on how you can use this tool. What kind of features do you want in it? This goes back to any tool of ours that you use. If you start playing with it and you have some feedback, send it to us by all means. The use cases we're hearing about most right now is, of course, highlighting text, but a lot of people are using these pins to be able to vote on sections of a document that they want to talk about in class as well. So that the instructor will give explicit instructions up here at the top that tells them, drop pins on the document you'd like to discuss in class. Most pins in a section wins. And so the students will, instead of having 30 students trying to highlight one section of the document, 30 students will come in and drop pins where they actually want to have a discussion in class. To be able to then, this instructor can scan through and be like, 30 pins on this one paragraph, fantastic, as you go through. So I just did text instructions here, but typical with everything in Harmonize, I could have done any sort of rich content in the instructions I wanted. So that's our newest tool, PDF Annotations, as we're going through things. So I covered a whole lot of new features there. Left about 20 minutes for questions, which I'm happy to take. And then if I don't have any questions on that, I can jump into a training on just engagement insights, sort of how do we monitor our classes? So you as the instructor can come in. But first I want to just create some space for, I covered all kinds of things. And just as a reminder, I covered how do I use Harmonize to do like a private assignment? How do I use Harmonize to set up a bridge between asynchronous, synchronous? I covered media and image annotations. I covered like all different kinds of question and answer spaces, all different kinds of polling spaces, PDF annotation, chats, group functionality. So I know that was a lot, but did anyone have particular questions on those things? All right. I'm going to jump back in. So I'm assuming well, actually, let's ask this in chat. Are there people who haven't used Harmonize before in chat that would like just a quick intro into how does this make my discussion forums quicker? Because I keep on teasing this, we're going to save you some time thing. Okay, I got at least one have not used. A couple yeses, never used it. All right, so if you're like a Harmonize expert, I'm going to jump back into some of the basics of how do we save you some time in it. And then I highly encourage you to hit that Harmonize 101 class, because I spend about 45 minutes really walking you through the paces of here's how I post, here's how I set up a topic. I actually walk you through the step-by-step instructions to set up a topic and get all of this started. But let me actually pull up my Harmonize 101 deck, because I want to show you, I think, what is probably one of the cooler tools we have built, which is how do you tell from an equity perspective which of your students need your help most? So imagine I'm in an in-person class. You got the kid over there with the hoodie over his head and headphones on, and he's asleep. You're like, that kid's not engaged, right? I can see that. I can be like, hey, Tommy, wake up, come into the class. How do I do that in an asynchronous class? And the answer is it's really hard. Like my default mode when I come into an asynchronous class, the students who are there and posting, those are the students I interact with. But really, are they the students I should be interacting with? Or do I need to call on the quiet students to make sure that they're not dropping out? They're not a retention problem. Do they need my help? So we built a tool that actually monitors your class for you. We call it Engagement Insights. And when you come into the class, at the start, we're not going to know much about your class. So we're not going to say much. We're going to be quiet. But as you start to progress into your class, you're going to see this little drop-down box appear from this little menu in the top. And it's going to say, hey, we have, in this case, 5 students that we have concerns about. We're not showing this to anyone else. We're only showing this to you as the instructor. Our goal here is you're about halfway through your week. You haven't logged into your discussion yet. You got 10 minutes. You're drinking a cup of coffee before you got to go do your next thing. You come in, you see these suggestions, you go ahead and click on them. And we're going to give you a detailed view about that student and why we are concerned about them. So you can see here, we're saying Flora is not engaging with the course as much. That's been going on for 3 weeks, not interacting with her peers for 4 weeks, really just not posting and commenting as much. However, complexity of content's getting better, right? That's good. So a little bit of compliment sandwich there, some good, some bad. We don't show this to Flora because you might look at this and be like, Flora's a genius. Don't need help with Flora. She's crushing everything else in my class. I'd love her to be in the discussion forum, and it's sad she's not. Maybe I can try to pull her back in, but it's up to you as the instructor to determine that. All we can tell is whatever is the norm for your class, she is below the norm for your class on these behaviors. And you can see that's been going on here, the 4 open discussion topics. We still have 1, 2, 3, and 4 all open. She was on track. She was a low risk. She was a medium risk. Now she's a high risk. Our goal here is for you to be able to click this reach out button and do one of a few things: privately reach out, email, chat, whatever, or jump into that discussion topic and go to some other student's post. Maybe Bob posts all the time. Jump on Bob's post and be like, @mention Flora, that notifies Flora. Hey, Flora, what do you think about what Bob is saying here? Flora gets notified. Flora hopefully comes back into the class. Flora responds to your question. So now you've done 2 things. You made Bob happy because you were like, Bob, nice work. You even called in another student to look at it. You got Flora to come back into class because she really needed the help. She was kind of fading away, and then you moved on with your day. Same thing for these other students who are new. You can see I have 3 more. I could click through each of those, see what it says in clear written English. We have a lot of data available. If you click on these other tabs, we'll give you a lot of graphs and data of what that actually looks like if you're more of a data person. But our goal is, you probably know something about this student. Let's just nudge you to be like, hey, Flora faded away. Flora was doing great for 3 weeks, then Flora faded away. Go grab Flora, pull her back into class. So this is one area where it's like one of the RSI guidelines from the feds, their regular and substantive interaction, is you're supposed to be monitoring your class and acting accordingly. It's really hard to monitor your class as the instructor. Are you going to pull up a spreadsheet of everybody there, cross-check who's posted, who hasn't posted? No one has time for that. So that's our goal here, is to get you in 10 minutes, hit 3 students, comment on them, pull them back into the class, or maybe set up a private time of like, hey, Flora, reach out an email. We should talk. Come to my office hours or whatever it is. And then what we like to say as well is you've now done this, you've come in. Let me jump actually back into the discussion real quick. So now you're in that early mode. One of these things actually is the discussion. So now let's say I'm actually, let me go all the way back. 2 more. I totally lost. Oh, I loaded up my PDF, my slide deck over the top of my Canvas demo. That's why I lost it. So let's say I'm actually in that class and I hit those 3 people who were absent. I pulled them back into the class. But now I'm like, well, I'm early. I'm here. I have 5 more minutes. I can look at this and be like, wow, 50% of my students have already finished what I've asked them to do. So they already have a grade. So I can actually, in the auto grade system they do, or I can grade them. But I can jump into this here. So now remember, I'm about halfway through the module. Only half the students have submitted their work. But because this was the live forum here, I could actually do the grading right now as well and just knock out half my grading. Be like, okay, I'm gonna knock out half my grading, but I'm gonna give you your feedback over here. And I'm going to mark these as public comments. So I publish them. So now I've given you substantive feedback around your work. I've adjusted the grade or given you a grade if I want to. I publish this out to the forum. Everybody else in class benefits from it. Now you have got your grading done. you monitored your discussion from an equity perspective to figure out who to talk to, and you gave substantive feedback facilitating the discussion at the same time. So I published this here. This actually now is a published comment. If I went back into that card view, all the students can see it now. So this is this whole streamlined process. I came in, got my grading done, gave some feedback, published that feedback out to the class because it was actually beneficial for everyone and they could benefit from that feedback. Hey, everybody, this is a great exemplar of what your work looks like. Take a look at what, Flora did here, et cetera, and then you roll on with your day. So it's quite possible that you could do everything from your grading interface because you can see every student's post from here. You can see which students are ready for grading because they have a little green check next to their name. Jump through each of those and do some quick grading on what's going on, publishing those back out to the discussion as appropriate and moving on, and even seeing like plagiarism detection. We auto submitted that to turn it in for you. You can see it's got a high plagiarism score. So you can also then adjust and make a private comment here and be like, James, you didn't write the Gettysburg Address. Let's not claim you did. That's not cool. And you could actually click on this, launch straight in to turn it in and see what's going on there. So once again, if you want to do plagiarism detection, you don't have to. It's integrated for you. So we're trying to save you some time and seeing what actually is similar to other content, both content from the internet and content from the discussion forums, because we submit everything to turn it in that you ask us to. So if they're copying each other's work as well, we're going to catch that. So that was a whirlwind tour of like, how can we get you in and get you out, get you to do better tools to be able to do more substantive feedback to your students so they feel more heard, they feel like they've gotten better value, but you've done it in a very efficient way as you move through. Maybe you're even letting the system grade for you because they actually got those milestones done and we assign points based on that, et cetera. So, all right, I feel like I've probably overwhelmed you with everything that Harmonize does now. If you do feel—
Marcus, can we just make the comment that when we're talking about auto grading, we're not talking about the content of the post. We're talking that they followed the directions in that they made a post.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So we recommend you only use what we call our participation auto grade when it is a very low stakes assignment. You want them to do it, but you're really not assessing the quality. And so the points assigned here are like, did they make a post? They got 50 points. The post could have been Latin as far as our computers are concerned, right? We don't know what you asked your students to do. They might have posted Latin here for 7,000 words. So you might still review it and see like, was it legit or not? But they got 50 points for that. If they had made one comment, they would have got half the points. If they made a second comment, they would have got the other half of the points. So this is a very, very low stakes grading, but sometimes you need to do grading just to get the students to do the work. And it's really not part of the quality grade. So go ahead and attach a low point total to it so that they still come in and do it, but you're really not assessing the quality. Having said that, you can always come over here and say like, well, you got 100%, or this should have been 10. I had obviously adjusted it. But you can adjust the points and say like, I'm only giving you half because you plagiarized the Gettysburg Address and you didn't actually do what I asked you to do. So you can always adjust it. However, Sherry's very right. Like if you're doing a quality assessment, you can still use these milestones. Just make sure you don't turn on the actual auto grading feature, which is under here where I've configured them. I can see like I'm asking for a post 3 days before the due date and 2 comments on the due date. You can see I have attached point totals to each of those, but I can always turn it off here and still use the multiple due dates and still pull those students in to be able to do things, but not have the auto grading system attach points to it. All right, 9 minutes left, but I mean, I covered so much information. I feel like I don't want to make you drown. Harmonize 101. I have a recording of it at that the support webinar I did, the page I put out there, that actually walks you through just the basics. It'll walk you through how do I make a post? How do I make a comment? How do I set up an actual graded assignment in Harmonize and my discussions, et cetera. So it'll walk you through the instructions to that. So if you're really like, okay, that was all cool, but I'm not going to remember most of it, and I want to know how to actually do the clicky, you can either attend a live 101 webinar, or you can watch a recording of the 101, or if Sherry sets up a 101 webinar for you maybe later on, or maybe start next semester, or whatever Sherry wants, because she's the boss, then we can come through and do that as well. Looks like Heather just put in there, well, for the TCC faculty, There's a Harmonize Canvas shell you can check out as well, and she can send you how to self-enroll that if you want to reach out to her.
Yeah, we have your training calendar up in that Canvas shell, along with the recordings.
Great. All right, so hopefully that wasn't overwhelming, and I'd be interested if you found that overwhelming. Let me know, because I like to pack a ton in this webinar, because this is the most fun webinar. This is like, how do I 7,000 ways to creatively reach out to my students? And I get excited and I speak quickly. So if that was too much, let us know, because we can really scale that back a little bit and maybe break it into 2 in the future. But that's the type of thing that I love to talk about, is like, how do you make this stuff work in your class?
I like the annotation, the PDF and the annotation tool.
Cool. We definitely left some feedback. Our goal here is that there's a bunch of tools on the market to do this.
Yeah.
But if the student can have a similar experience for all of them, it's smoother for them. And if you have a similar experience from an admin perspective to set it up, it's smoother for you. And so if you're already using a PDF annotation tool and you use ours and you're like, it's missing this feature, let us know, because our goal is that you don't have to go use other tools for that, so that you can just use a similar interface. And then we have all of that unified under how you configure things.
Our faculty, for some of them, they just use the Canvas tool. And then some have used Hypothesis on their own. And I know that when I've gone through the Canvas Certified Educator program, they introduced us to Hypothesis and we use that. So that I was familiar with what you were doing based off of what I've done with Hypothesis. And Sherry and I were both saying the same thing. Well, I can have 2 tools, one tool will do the work, like Harmonize.
Yay.
Yay.
All right, so I'm always available. If you want to reach out to me, I will actually throw my email address in the chat here. I'm the guy that if you want to brainstorm cool things, that's me. If you actually have questions around how to make it work, that's more of just like I'm trying to just creating a topic. We have a support address, support@harmonizelearning.com. They just know more than I do. So if you reach out to me and you're like, I wanted 7 milestones configured in this way, I'm just going to pass you on to them and be like, aha, Eric and Andrew can help you. They are really good at support, I would say. Like, normally I groan when I think I have to go to support, but that is not true with our people. They know more about the product than I do, and they will jump on a Zoom session. They will walk you through things. They have tons of support articles to be able to help with as well. All right. Heather or Sherry, anything else you wanted me to cover, or was that plenty of information?
No, I think we're good. So I want to reiterate something that both Heather and I put in the chat. Your colleges already are paying for Harmonize. So start to use it. Even though we're already partway through the semester, take one discussion board. Reach out to the instructional designer on your campus. They can help you get started to make sure you know, because if you go and just click on discussion board, that's going to be the Canvas discussion board. So we want to make sure you know how to start it in Harmonize. Just start one discussion board, put in the milestone dates, and then check the insights so you know who's participating in what and who you need to reach out to. And leave your students alone. They'll just take off. They know what to do. They'll really start moving in directions where they're doing a lot more audio, video, and graphics. Our faculty have really who've used this, have found it to be very helpful in changing the nature of the conversations between students. And then the one other thing that I want to say, that question and answer is really important. So I've been interviewing community college students all over the country about asynchronous courses. And a lot of them love the convenience of it and that they can work in their own time when they want to do something. But when I ask them what's missing, they say what's missing is they don't hear any other student questions. If a student has a question, they email the faculty member directly. And so they never hear other questions. And in the question and answer, students get to hear each other's questions, and that's actually part of the learning process. So we really strongly recommend that if you haven't gotten started, that you do. Reach out to your instructional designers. Y'all get my tech tips. So reach out to me. I'll send you to the person that you need to do for support. Reach out directly to Marcus or support at Harmonize. Marcus, I thank you so much for doing this for us. And it was jam-packed, but that was really good because I think everybody gets to walk away with the one thing that's of value for them.
That's what I'm hoping. Our big thing is we don't tell you how to teach. We just give you a lot of tools to figure out what you need. Because everybody teaches different. Every course is different. Every course has different needs. So, great.
Right.
Well,
Marcus, thank you to all our faculty and instructional designers who joined us. Thank you so much for giving us your time, and I will share out the recording when it's ready.
thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Marcus.
Take care.